Today, we talk Steve Crisp, puzzle artist, availability by brand, and we will dive into my strategy completing this beautiful puzzle as illustrated by Steve Crisp and produced by RGS. And then before we get started, I would just like to say a special thank you to Puzzle Piece 9509 for requesting this puzzle. I absolutely love it, and she just gave me a reason to assemble this puzzle and do this video for you today. So thank you again for those who leave comments and request puzzles. So Steve Crisp is a UK-based puzzle artist, and he is mainly publishing with Gibson's, which is a UK brand, which makes absolutely sense. But I believe that he is also licensed with a licensing company that publishes for other brands. And that includes Aerographics, Falcon, White Mountain, RGS, Castorland. So there is a wide variety of brands that carries his work. So again, maybe you're not familiar with his name, but I will most certainly guarantee that you've seen one of his images or maybe even assembled one of them. So I'm in the fortunate position where our local brand RGS also loves Steve Crisp. I've got 4 Steve Crisp puzzles by RGS, unlike, say, for instance, Chris Bigelow, who's another favorite of mine, where I just can't get all of it. RGS don't, for instance, carry, or I haven't seen a single one by Chris Bigelow, but I'm fortunate enough that there's 4 by Steve Crisp that I own that is in my collection. So then also very recently I added this Gibson's, which is very fitting for me because this is the brand that he actually works with. So I think it's fitting that there should be a Gibson's in my collection of Steve Crisp puzzles. So there's one by Gibson's. I've got one by Castorland, and I believe Castorland, because this is the type of images that they publish, they will definitely have more. I will definitely look into that. And then the ones by RGS, and all of these are nostalgic type of images. I love it, and I know it's not everybody's cup of tea, but if you are liking some of these images, this is definitely an artist you can look into. So this one is the Pet Shop, and I think these goes like in a series. There's a different types of shops all over on his images. This one, for instance, is the toy shop. And I know there is a grocery shop by White Mountain. There is, I think, if I'm not mistaken, like a watch or a clock shop or something also by him. Obviously, the one on my wish list is his self-portrait, where he is painting his illustrations in his studio, and there is some of his puzzles against the wall. It's absolutely beautiful. So that one is on my wish list. And then these two are very similar in style, not so much the nostalgic shops, but more farm life. This one is Village in Summer. And this one that we are going to talk to you about today is the Old Garage. So yeah, Steve Crisp in a nutshell. Absolutely love his work. So if you're a fan, please let me know what's the local brands in your area that carries his images. I would love to know. Like I said, I think White Mountain carries his images, Falcon, Aerographics, RGS, Gibson's. There is another one, I just can't remember it right now. But yeah, we are lucky that his images are more available than some of the others. Okay, so now that we talked Steve Crisp and brands carrying his images, let's jump into this puzzle and I'll tell you how I tackled this puzzle and how it is different from my usual strategy. As is my standard practice, I flipped all the pieces and I took out the edge pieces and I assembled the edge pieces first, which went quite easily and fast enough. There was no problem with that. And then it was my intention to start with the sky and work my way down, especially because the 1,500 piece puzzles are somewhat bigger than the 1,000 piece puzzles, and I try to avoid reaching over too far just to be gentle on my muscles. but for some other reason, that red just stood out to me. It screamed at me to start with them. So the red car and that bicycle next to it was the pieces that I took out and started with. And then, as it happens, the flowers just came next, and I didn't plan on it. So the flowers and the signage. There's quite a lot of signs next to that, of on that building, and the signs came along very nicely. And as I already had the flowers in and the vehicles is in, the next obvious thing to start with was the ground. And from there, I worked on the horses and a bit on the buildings. The buildings started to come together just right after that. And the smaller buildings there on the left hand side was a different texture and a different style, I want to say, of painting. So that piece stood out to me quite easy. The buildings more to the center, the planks, the wood, the direction in which it lies helped a lot to get those pieces out and get them assembled. I assembled the roofs from there, again, quite easy. So up until this point, I had no problem with this puzzle. And when I reached this building here at the very right hand corner, I realized why I hadn't started with the top and worked my way down, because it would have taken me so much longer to assemble this puzzle. The building on the right and that leaves and on the trees and the skies, the branches, everything there were just a little bit more tricky and more difficult. And I'm actually glad I left those for the end of the puzzle. Again, not impossible, enjoyable puzzle, beautiful image. I will definitely do it again. And maybe next time I will make a point of it and start with the actual sky and branches and work my way down. So that is it, guys. Steve Crisp in a nutshell, and my strategy tackling this puzzle. I hope you enjoyed the video. And I would just like to say thank you so much for watching. Take care and see you in the next one. I guess I want to try something, and I'm not sure if I'm going to get this right. So please, if you know anything about sign language, please correct me if I'm wrong. But this is supposed to be thank you for watching. Take care and happy puzzling. So let's see if I can do this.